Hello, welcome to the Myth-Busting Neurodiverse Relationships podcast. I'm Natalie Roberts and I'm here with my co-host Heather Parks. We've both been in our neurodiverse relationships and families for more than 25 years. We met 10 years ago when we were feeling really desperate and trying to solve a lot of issues in our relationship and our families. We've been journeying since then. We've found many more positive and hopeful ways to solve, resolve, repair, reconnect in those relationships and in our families, in our lives. And we now co-host also Loving Difference online, giving hope and a way forward for neurodiverse relationships. In this podcast, though, we're busting the myths about neurodiverse relationships, which we had when we started this journey, that we've realised aren't true, and that actually were preventing us from recovering and having the relationships with our partners and children that we wanted. So we want to dispel these myths and bring you hope that absolutely things can change. So whether you're out and about or comfy with a cuppa, let's dive into our next conversation. See you there.
Hello, Natalie here. A different episode of the podcast for you today. In this episode and the next one, we're sharing our presentations from the Neurodiverse Love conference that happened online in February 2023. We loved the opportunity to share our experience with others there, and now we're bringing those presentations to a wider audience via the podcast too. In my presentation today, I'm busting the myth that surviving or just liking your neurodiverse relationship is the best you can hope for. Heather and I want you to know the new truth, that the impact of unknown neurodiversity in your relationship is reversible and you can thrive and flourish. We used slides in the presentation, so some things may be a little tricky to make sense of when you're listening or watching along. If you're listening to the podcast, you can watch instead via our Loving Difference YouTube channel, or even better, come and join us at our online home in Loving Difference. Hello, yes, it's Natalie Roberts here. I'm so pleased to be a part of this event. I'm so grateful to Mona for putting everything together. What a treat to be here today to talk about neurodiverse relationships together. As a relationship coach, as an integrative practitioner and someone who's walked your path, in my presentation today, I hope to just really bring a flavour of my work to you, wherever you are at in your neurodiverse relationship, to validate your experience, fully validate that, bust a myth that could be holding you back from recovering yourself and connecting in the ways that you want, illuminate something about the path that you've travelled already that maybe you don't know already, and hopefully shed some light on the path ahead for you so that it's not so lonely and dark travelling there. Let's go. So to begin, an invitation. I'd love you just to imagine that you're meeting me at the edge of this beautiful forest here. Perhaps just, like the one in the photo, and welcoming you there to your first visit to Revival Retreat, a really beautiful place that I've begun to host online in Loving Difference. You've arrived here because you're struggling in your neurodiverse relationship. You're probably feeling exhausted, confused by everything that's going on. Perhaps you've got some information, perhaps you have a lot of information already, but the day-to-day is still feeling really challenging for you, and you're just running out of ways to handle that. Not really feeling any better equipped. I remember feeling exactly like that back in 2014. I knew a lot of stuff, but I just still felt completely lost, like I just had no map and I'd landed somewhere that I had no idea how to navigate it. So I'm here at the edge of this forest to meet you where you are and offer you a map with some routes and some company for the journey. One of the things I love to do on this journey now is to bust myths. There just seem to be so many things that I believed in the beginning that I have discovered simply aren't true. And one of those is this, that surviving or just liking my neurodiverse relationship was going to be the best that I could hope for. I read it in lots of places. I spoke to lots of people. I was in a lot of groups where that simply seemed to be the best that there could be. I found the whole thing really quite depressing. It felt very hopeless. And I just wanted better than us, but better than that for us and for my family, for my children too. So I guess I kind of wanted to find some other truths if they would be there. And what I have come to realize is that it is a myth. Surviving and just liking your relationship is not the best you can hope for. In fact, the impact of unknown neurodiversity in your relationship is reversible, and that you can thrive and you can flourish. And I just want to spread that message to more and more people who believe that just liking it is the best there is. As I said, I was really just told that I needed just to leave. Lots of people said to me, I really would need to leave to recover myself. I was also hearing that I would need to change or be accommodating or more accommodating than my partner. And to be frank about it, I really felt like I changed beyond recognition already. And the idea that I would need to change even more was really I just couldn't imagine how I would do that and really be okay, because I really wasn't okay at that point. So yeah, it was just really important for me to start finding a different route. So I want to give you some hope and encouragement today that just isn't true. You can reverse all the changes that you've made to yourself, whatever your neurotype, because I know that that's going on for everyone. You can show up as the best version of you in your relationship. Meet your partner wherever they are with themselves and start to make more empowered decisions about your present and your future, so that you can start to have a much happier, better connected and flourishing life. So one of the things I began to realize was that unknown neurodiversity really does have a significant impact on both your individual experience and on your relationship experience. Some of these things have quite, there's terms that you will come across, perhaps Cassandra syndrome and other words for this experience. What's become the truth for me to know as a coach particularly, and as I understood more about what had been happening in our home, was that all neurotypes experience this impact on them. And as I'm talking, you may be reading through this list at the moment and recognizing yourself, seeing yourself in some of these things. I'm not going to read them all out, but social isolation, experiencing anger, resentment, deteriorating well-being in all areas of your life. It really has a really detrimental impact when we don't know what is going on. A lot of people think that it's neurodiversity that is to blame or is at fault or is causing the problem. It's part of the problem, but I think for me it's the unknownness of it, is that we haven't known what we're in, as well as some of the challenges that come with it. So so it really does. Perhaps you're recognizing yourself in this list. I could have ticked all of those things back in 2014. And at the same time, the impact on your relationship experience. Here's a few things that you might recognize in yourself here, in terms of how is your relationship feeling at the moment. And again, all neurotypes are experiencing this. It doesn't mean that all partners in all relationships are experiencing it. But one of the messages I want to share today is that I work with all neurotypes, and I hear the same things. So it's really important that we're not putting this on one partner or the other. Everyone potentially, or different, everybody in the relationship could be experiencing this. The hamster wheel classic image of this impact, and how we can feel like we're going round and round and round the same issues. It's a very, very common illustration that people bring to me about how life is feeling for them. Day to day, it just feels like they're going round and round the same stuff and finding no better ways to handle it, and certainly no way to get off of it. So I'd love to share with you a different route, a different way. How could you possibly change the impact of these things and still be in your relationship? So in this slide, an illustration really of how I work with clients to move them and support them to experience more of what you're seeing in the green box on the screen. I mean, I'm sure all of you perhaps will look at these words and just wish that more of this was in your life, and perhaps resting your eyes around the list of words in the red. you may notice many of those are things that you experience and really don't want to be having any more of that. And the sooner that you could be moving from the red to the green state and place, the better. And the good news is there is a gate. There is a way for us to travel from this red place where we are very disconnected, where our well-being is significantly impacted, and that we could move forward towards being in a much more connected, loving relationship, and individually in the relationship being in a much, much healthier and stronger position. So yeah, I really want to be sharing a very hopeful message with you today, that change really is possible, that recovery is possible. I was standing just on this ledge really only a few weeks ago and looking at the view and really thinking about just how difficult and challenging it can feel sometimes to be looking ahead of ourselves. And I often think about the looking a long way into the distance. And sometimes that can just feel so impossible when we think that everything that we're in at the moment is all going to be walking with us. Perhaps you feel like you're right down there in the bottom of the valley where you're not able to see that sunshine. You're not able to see really any wider. But being able to move yourself further up and be able to have a wider view of things is certainly one way to start seeing the wood for the trees, starting to have some new perspectives, starting to know that the sunshine is still shining, and that we can have our feet planted firmly on that lovely stone there and be able to see possibility and see a view. And it may not be clear yet how the journey will go from there to the view that you see ahead of you, but certainly there's a way forward, and I'm here to share that with you. So here's a clue. This was one of the biggest clues that I discovered. I was directing very, very much of my attention towards my relationship, towards my partner, certainly in all sorts of other directions other than myself. And my invitation to you, my love letter, my Valentine's card to you today is that you are the treasure you seek, that bringing some attention and focus to yourself is one of the best things that you could possibly do for yourself and for your relationships. Just so, so, so important. In doing that, we begin to embrace ourselves rather than brace yourself. I'm sure many of you will know, like if you're on a plane and they talk about being in the brace position, I felt like that's what I was in all the time in my relationship, that I was in sort of this position, like just waiting for stuff to happen or just bracing myself. And I realized that what I needed to do was bring attention to myself and just move those arms down a bit and actually give myself some time and some focus so that I could begin to understand a little more of myself inside of the relationship, maybe in relation to neurodiversity, but potentially in relation to lots of other things that may be getting in the way. What made the difference for me was that I needed to change some of the things in myself. I needed to reverse the impact of the neurodiversity and then understand how some other things have been getting in the way. My relationship with blame, with expectations, with desire, with knowing and needing, knowing what I wanted, what I needed, communicating that a bit, much better, actually. I realized I wasn't very good at that. So there are lots of things that are not neurodiversity specific that actually are getting involved in our relationships a lot of the time. So I've been putting together a really special place. We're hosting it in Loving Difference. It's called Revival Retreat. And one of the things that's been really important for Heather and I, who I host Revival Retreat with, is really to give and offer you a map that have more clues for you than neurodiversity alone. Many people are collecting a lot of information about neurodiversity, and we're ignoring or not bringing sufficient awareness to other issues in the relationship that are getting in the way and holding us back from being in better connection. I believe that probably 80% of the challenges in neurodiverse relationship are actually relationship challenges. And then there is the thread of neurodiversity that's sitting over the top or running through all of those. So if we are not bringing attention to those, then we're missing a really important part of the puzzle. also, if you're only learning about neurodiversity and neurodiverse relationships, you really are missing things. If we're only learning about relationships and not about neurodiversity, then we're also missing something. So it's really very important to be putting them together. Also, we've got lots of evidence now as well that perhaps CBT alone, those kind of talking therapies, don't bring sufficient change for people on their own. And also success is quite limited with anything that is missing the lived experience lens of all of this. Academics haven't lived this day to day. And in my experience, their questions rarely seem to get to the root of everything. So lived experience, working with people that are on that path all the time and have lived it, is so important. So Revival Retreat is somewhere that you can come along and do all of that. It's a 5-step journey, and there's all the learning and resources and support that you need there. I host Loving Difference with Heather Parks. We've been together on this journey for nearly 9 years now, and it's all just been a total joy. So we've become accredited coaches and integrated practitioners so that we can combine our lived experience, everything we've learned so far to recover and thrive, and professional qualifications, so that we can put together a really groundbreaking and pioneering approach to recovery, so that you can recover, reverse the impact of unknown neurodiversity that I shared with you earlier, and so that you can really be living a fulfilled life in your neurodiverse relationship. And don't we all really want that? You can travel at your path, your pace. We support you to find that, and you're doing it all in community. So that's professional support from 2 practitioners with lived experience. We're hiking this map every day using all of the tools that you're going to find. We have such a passion for accelerating your recovery. It took us a long time to find this map and these ways, and we just don't want anyone to be struggling any longer than they have to. So we often say that with no map at all, which was where we were, 2 years really for us to feel better and really feel like ourselves again. With a map, with different experience, we can support you to have a different experience in less than 10 days. And really feel like yourself again in 6-12 months with the work. We would all love a really quick fix, and we'd love a magic wand, and we'd love shortcuts. Sadly, there are no shortcuts, but there are step-by-steps, and there are ways for you to get to being yourself again, to feeling well, feeling healthy, feeling like you have energy, feeling like life has some purpose. I think the only the shortcut that we've managed to eliminate is finding that map. So we're here to give that to you and support you in traveling it step by step with us. Let's move on to the next slide. So here's some ways that you can find out more. We bust lots more myths. There's more resources, lots more to learn, and lots of ways to practice with lots of support so that you can just start having a better time as soon as possible. I know that many of you will have barriers and things that just feel like any of this work is potentially just too hard, just feels too hard, too uncertain. Lots of reasons that you might feel scared to begin this journey. And I understand those because they were mine too. It could be it just feels too scary to change anything. That was mine. I could start to see some new ways, but the idea of doing anything very different, the fallout of that in my home, the uncertainty of what that would bring, made it very, very difficult and challenging to begin. So I understand that. You may feel like you must have your partner on board to continue or to do anything. You may believe that you need to leave in order to be yourself again. You may just be exhausted by the whole thing and just really don't want to do anything else. You may feel like you should be grateful for what you have and why am I complaining? You might feel like you've changed yourself already. I don't want to change anything else. I say all these things because they were all my things too. And I just want to really encourage you to just find something in you, a reason. Mine was my kids. I just wanted to show them and let them know in their own life that there were ways that they could create healthy relationship, that they didn't have to go the same route that mine had. And I think that's what gave me the start to be able to keep going. So come along and find us. We understand all those barriers to everything. It is for everyone. It doesn't matter what neurotype you are. We have discovered that the map is the same. If you're on board with it, the map's the same. The discoveries are very much the same. Obviously, there's nuances, but the way forward is together. And if you're limited at all in what you can invest financially, then it's fine. We have ways for that too. So you may have lots and lots of information and know ways to navigate things any better than before. So if that is you, I just want you to trust the ways that we found. Come and find us, let us inspire you and lead you towards a much better experience in your relationship as soon as possible. And I've really appreciated being able to share my story a little and a little of what's brought me here. And I hope that I leave you with some inspiration, some hope and some encouragement to step onto recovery road. And if I can support you in any way at all with that, come and find me. And I look forward to seeing you then. Bye.
If this episode has resonated with you, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening or watching to get notifications of future episodes. To dive deeper into all of this with professional coaching, resources, and all the support you need, join us in Love Indifference via www.loveindifference.net. And we'll be back here soon.